Hello, and welcome to the hardest scenario in Civilization 6 the world has ever seen. You see, after making a few videos of how to beat these scenarios and flexing my righteous anger towards Sid Meier about how easy they are to overcome, I had an idea. What if I could just make them harder on my own? And so I have. You see, today we are playing Vikings Traders and Raiders, but I have removed the Vikings. Now what that means is we cannot raid, we cannot pillage, we cannot conquer, we can't even go into enemy territory. Now if you're thinking that there is no way that I could possibly win because I'm removing 60% of the scenario, don't even worry about it, because I'm also going to remove religion as well, so we can't get any points from that. So why don't you grab yourself a drink, kick your feet up, and like this video, and watch to see if I can become the greatest Viking who ever lived, and wasn't actually a Viking. Anyway, starting out, we have to pick a leader to play as, and seeing that the differences are a military policy slot, an economic policy slot, or faster boats, it doesn't really matter who you choose, you can play as anyone. But we're going to pick Harald Hardrada, simply because it makes for a better thumbnail. I'm not even joking, that's exactly why I picked him. Moving on. Before we begin, let's take a look at the scoring for the scenario and see how much we have handicapped ourselves. Now, since we cannot raid, pillage, enter enemy territory, conquer enemy cities, or have a religion, we are very limited on what we can do to get points, and that's not even considering the fact that we're playing on the hardest difficulty in the entire game. And as you can see, the best way to get points is to get a great admiral to Vinland, so that'll be our goal for the early game, and I think if we can't be the first one to do that, we probably don't have a good chance at winning. So, we begin the game with a couple of long ships, berserkers, and fuck, alright. Well, we're gonna act like that didn't happen, because it was a total accident, and just not do it ever again. So as I was saying, we start off with a few units, and I'm going to use them to just adventure around and look at Scotland, I guess, because they can't go into the ocean or pillage or raid or anything, so there's not a lot of use for them now. Alright, so phase 1 is to build a harbor in Oslo, not only because it makes us money and it's good to have a harbor, but because it'll help boost the naval tradition civic, which, for this scenario, you have to boost the civics or you will never get them. And for first policy choices, we will take... What the hell is even that? Whatever that is, and we'll also take discipline, because I said I wouldn't invade the other civs, but the barbarians are fair game, and probably the only way we'll get great admiral or general points is by fighting the barbarians. Now we'll skip ahead a little bit, because there's not a whole lot to do in the first few turns, since we can't pillage or attack anyone. So for the tech tree, we got meat halls first so we could get settlers and claim what little free space there is and set up some cities. And then we rush down Nars, which will allow us to travel out in the ocean tiles, which is very important if we ever want to make it to Vinland. So far, we're not doing great on score going into turn 10, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Oh, would you look at this? A lone archer has decided to sail out and say hello. Unfortunately for him, there's no such thing as international waters, because they're my waters. So goodbye, archer, and hello, great admiral points. As you can see, that violates none of the rules that I set out for myself, and we need all the points that we can get if we hope to beat this challenge.
A few moments later.
Oh, hell yeah. I honestly didn't expect the game to cooperate so much in giving me great admiral points, but here we are. So I thank you, Dun Bertan, for your kind offerings. I'll be sure to put them to good use. Alright, so we're one turn away from getting Nars, which is when our actual plan begins, and then we... Oh.
On a scale from 1 to 10, my friend, you're fucked.
Oh yeah, no, I'll take the free points. I'm not... And there's more. You know, the game is being so kind to me right now. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, as I was saying, we have now made it to the Rus era and can travel out on the ocean tiles, which means we can make it to Vinland and get real points. And we need them now because we're behind by almost 800 at this point. Since we're traveling across the Atlantic Ocean in search of the fabled Vinland, we need a brave Scandinavian explorer who can lead us to this new world. Now maybe you've heard of the famous Viking explorers of Erik the Red, Leif Erikson, or Fredius Eriksdottir, but did you know there's a fourth famous Erik that you should know? Meet Erik the Periwinkle, the only man brave enough to lead us to the new world. And look at that, off to a great start, he has already discovered Iceland. Which brings us to the second part of our plan. You see, Erik the Periwinkle is a brave hero, and I trust him dearly, but simply finding Vinland first will not guarantee us a win, so we need some other ways of getting points. And unfortunately for the rest of the world, we're about to teach a very regrettable lesson to most of Europe, because the second phase of our plan is colonization, which is why I've taken up our population and sent them out to settle some cities. Now if we were playing as Sweden, this part would be a lot easier because we just go into Finland and Russia and settle cities in that open territory. But since we are Norway, we have to sail out and try to take over the islands that are available. Now our brave hero, Erik, has discovered... Wait, are those fucking elephants? Why the... Anyway, our brave hero has discovered Greenland, which is fantastic because I think that would mean we're about halfway to Vinland. He has also discovered some barbarian ships.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight! This is where they die!
And with Erik the Periwinkle's victory out on the high seas near Greenland, we have unlocked his long-lost brother, Erik the Red. And we can send him over to Vinland and cash in and get those victory points. Alright, we're about to finish turn 20, and I think as soon as we do, our boy Erik the Periwinkle will discover Vinland. Yep, there we go. Now we just have to send over our admiral to cash in and get our 1,000 points, and we will still not be in first place. Oof, that's rough. That's not good. That is not good. Well, as I said before, it wasn't a guarantee that getting Vinland first would win us the game. It's simply a necessary step to keep the hope alive that we can get a win. Without it, I don't think we could. In other news, we are placing our first city outside of Norway, and we're going to put it in Ireland, which is probably the best location available to us, and it's named No, we need an Irish name for it. That's more like it.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Which, this reminds me, I didn't rename all of my cities, so let's do that real quick. So Oslo will become ABBA. Wait, I think ABBA's Swedish. I don't know, I wasn't born in the 50s. Alright, so some actual Norwegians. Let's go Kygo, our capital will be Ylvis, and Thor. Yeah, why not? So Erik the Red has made it to Vinland, which means this is the moment of truth to see if we are indeed the first Vikings to make it to the New World. Hell yeah, 1,000 points. Alright, that is super necessary. We also got 500 gold. That's great, fantastic. Use that to build up some of our cities and things. And with that 1,000 point bonus, we did manage to jump to second place, which is great, but we're still behind by about 150 points, which is a gap that's only going to get wider, so we need to find a way to really catch up and overtake the lead. And since we have found Vinland, our hero, Erik the Periwinkle, craves a new adventure. So we'll just let him wander the high seas and see what he can find. In the meantime, our units are beginning to land on Greenland, which means we can start settling that and get some elephants, I guess. Sure, why not? And over here at our city of Conor McGregor, it would seem Tamworth is upset with us settling so nearby. Unfortunately for them, I am not avoiding war because I am weak. I'm avoiding it because I am too strong. And if I were to go to war, this would be way too easy for me. Which is a lesson that the barbarians in Iceland and Greenland had to learn the hard way. But I digress. We have now managed to set up 3 cities in Greenland. So what we need to do is rename them. And since we already ran out of Norwegians to name cities after, we're going to borrow a couple Swedes. So we have Dolph Lundgren, Peter Stormare, and the Skarsgårds. All of them. And now that Greenland is basically full, we'll set up some cities on Iceland as well. Wait, isn't that just where Reykjavik is? Damn, that's a lore accurate poll. Alright, that's cool. But we still have to rename it. So we'll call it Bjork, because that's the only Icelander I've ever known. Honestly, I'm starting to think that Scandinavians as a whole just prefer to keep to themselves and don't really crave the fame. But I digress. Alright, so we've just made it to Hastings, which is the final era of this Viking scenario, and we're doing pretty good actually. We have also unlocked our first government outside of the starting one, which is cool I guess, kind of late in the scenario to do that, but sure, yeah, I'll take the extra policies. And now that I'm here looking at the policies, it's irrelevant. They're all pretty useless to us at this stage in the game. I mean, all the military ones for sure, there's none of that we even need. And I guess we'll take great admiral points. Why not? Maybe there's one left we can have, but at this point the policies are just kind of useless to us. In more interesting news though, we have now settled Scotland, which is pretty cool. It's going to run into Dunbarton pretty quick, but we just need the points from setting up the city and getting as much pop as possible out of it. Now, that said, we need a name for it. So we could name it after something cool like their national animal, the unicorn, or something else that's cool like the Loch Ness Monster, Nessie. But we need to build the population of the city as fast as possible, so we need a name that will draw a crowd for us. So we're going to name it Topgolf. Also, I was going to set up a second Iceland city, but I put Bjork too far to the east, so I cannot put one on the edge of Iceland. So instead, we're going to set it up here on the Faroe Islands, I think. And we will name this one Team Iceland from D2, the Mighty Ducks. Now, if you're wondering why I named it Team Iceland from D2, the Mighty Ducks, and not something based on the Faroe Islands, you look me in the eye and tell me a funny or clever name for a city in Civilization 6 based on your knowledge of the Faroe Islands in real life without looking it up. Yeah, that's what I thought. In other news, we are lucky enough to be the second one to Vinland as well, so that'll give us 500 points. That's awesome. And it means that we have now taken the lead, which is great news. We do have to hold on to it for 15 more turns, though. It also means that if we were to send a third Great Admiral over to Vinland, we'd only get 300 points because it decreases each time. So we're going to shift our focus over and do some other stuff. And do some other stuff we did, such as adventuring every unoccupied space within the far reaches of the Mediterranean Sea, building improvements to raise populations and allow our people to prosper across our vast empire. And Erik the Periwinkle himself set out on a lifetime voyage to adventure every corner of the Atlantic Ocean, and he succeeded. However, in his vast travels, he has uncovered the world serpent, Jormungandr. Which means you must help our hero, Erik the Periwinkle, vanquish this violently vicious and voracious villain, violating vacancy with a vendetta against our very vigilant and valorant veteran, thus voiding the Valkyrie's visitation to Vanguard of Vikings vacation to Valhalla. And you can do that by subscribing to the channel. That's right, this is just a shameless plug to get you to subscribe, because it's free, and it helps the boy out. Look at him. Come on, he's a little guy. He's a little guy. You gotta help him out. Subscribe. With your generous help of simply clicking a button, Erik was able to vanquish the Midgard serpent.
They must have amnesia. They forgot that I'm him.
And has made it to Conor McGregor where he can heal up before heading off into retirement. Beep. One turn remaining, and we are ahead by 25 points. Alright, so that's a lot closer than I wish we would be. I mean, I knew I made this challenge pretty difficult, but that is very close. So we'll see if we can just sneak a win out in this last turn. Alright, it's the final turn, and our boy is healed, so we're gonna send him into a fight, because, you know, he loves that. Then we just have to fill in the rest of our production, so we're gonna drop down, you know, some random things. Yeah, market, why not, whatever. None of this stuff's getting finished anyway. But now let's find out if we managed to get a win. Woo! Alright, we did it. Now bring on the bean.
From our humble beginnings ages ago, we do not just survive, we prosper.
Alright, let's go check out our score and see how we did. And we got the top rank of Augustus Caesar by a large margin, too. But we checked the graph, and yeah, just as I thought, the Vinland jumps are very clear, and if you look right here at the end, we barely pulled out a win. But I knew we would, because even with me adjusting it to make it 10 times harder than it was, the DEITY scenarios in Civ 6 are way too easy. But I've been your host, Sage from ShibariJello. I hope Brennan Fraser is having a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.